Good afternoon, you're watching ABC News. I am Jennifer Samoa. Coming up in the headlines. Construction work of the National Cathedral is set to resume soon. The board chair has been speaking to it. Still to come, there seems to be uneasiness in the camp of the National Democratic Congress following EC's rejection to conduct forensic audits. Also, a poll suggests that Cheddar and Alan are likely to send the 2024 elections to a runoff. A group of Ghanaians to hit the streets of Accra on the 1st to 5th of October 2024 to demand the release of detained demonstrators of the Democracy Hub protest. Coming up in business, the Monetary Policy Committee (MPC) of the Bank of Ghana has adjusted the policy rate for commercial banks from 29% to 27%. And on the international front, Sudan's army launched its largest operation yet to regain control of the capital Khartoum from the Rapid Support Forces on Thursday. This and many more coming up. Do stay with us. Thank you for choosing ABC News. Now the news in detail. The board chairman of the National Cathedral, Apostle Professor Opoku Onina, has hinted that construction works on the controversial National Cathedral will resume soon. The announcement was made after a meeting held on September 20 between the board of directors of the National Cathedral of Ghana and auditors from audit firm. During the meeting, church leaders were briefed on the statutory audit report, which covers the activities of the project from inception up to December 31, 2020. Deloitte Ghana completed the audit, providing clarity on the project's financial dealings. The audit was initiated by the board following public consent over alleged corruption and questionable the cathedral's construction. The decision to authorize an independent review aimed to address these allegations and ensure transparency. In a statement issued on September 24, Apostle Onina confirmed that the audit report is now complete, paving the way for the project's construction to restart after delays caused by financial scrutiny. Moving on, a group of Ghanaians have hinted of hitting the streets of Accra on the 1st to 5th of October 2024 to demand the release of detained demonstrators of the Democracy Hub protest. The demonstration dubbed Free the Citizens will be convened by the Yellow Army, Free the Citizens Group and some school groups. Joining us is Courage Nobi of the Movement for Change for a conversation. Good afternoon and thank you for joining us, Courage. Well, some group of Ghanaians have hinted on hitting the streets of Accra on the 1st to 5th October 2024, and this demonstration is to demand the release of detained demonstrators of the Democracy Hub protests. This has been going on for some time. Well, we have on the line Courage Nobi of the Movement for Change for a conversation. Good afternoon and thank you for joining us, Courage.
Good afternoon, my sister.
So, Courage, do you think hitting the streets again is the best solution to this?
Thank you very much. I think the best solutions for our problems are prescribed in the Constitution of Ghana, one of which is the right to protest. The Constitution of Ghana enjoins every citizen who feels or believes that even the Constitution is being trampled upon and the rights of people are being trampled upon to use all means necessary. Those means necessary are enshrined in the Constitution, one of which is a protest. So it is absolutely the right thing to do, and we are going to do it until we get results from it.
Well, why not allow the law to work rather than obstructing court decisions?
Nobody is obstructing court decisions. One of the qualities of law, one of the qualities of judicial decisions is that so when the institutions of state begin to conduct themselves in a manner that is not reasonable, it is in itself unlawful. And when the agencies of law have become unlawful, then the citizens must rise to restore the constitution by opposing what those institutions are doing.
Okay, well, you're a member of the Movement for Change. Why your involvement?
Well, the Movement for Change, like our name suggests, have been advocating and working for meaningful change, and that is what we believe in. We have said openly from our candidate, Alan Martin, and everybody that Galamsey must stop and it must be stopped now. We have said in our great transnational plan that an outright ban on Galamsey is what we will institute when given power. So we are working already on that. We are working to work to achieve that, and we work with the young people of this country. And so any call towards advancing that cause to make sure that we are able to transform this country for people to be proud, to be Ghanaians, to live in this country, that is what we support. So the call for end to Galamsey, we support it. The other reason why we are joining this is because of the blatant abuse of the human rights of the young people of this country. We need the young people to be protected by the law and its enforcement agencies so they can contribute economically and meaningfully to the country. If we have their rights being abused, it will be responsible on our part to sit down and watch, and now say that, even though their rights are being abused, we want them to contribute. It doesn't really gel. So it is because we believe fundamentally that what is happening is wrong. That is why we are joining the demonstration to ensure that the right things are done.
Have you engaged the Ghana Police Service for a final directive on the planned protest?
The laws of Ghana are clear on protest, that the police must be given 7-day notice. They have been given the notice. The police have a perpetual duty to provide protection for life and property. And so it is not a direct. We don't need a directive from them for them to do their job. We have informed them what they must do is to put together the necessary men and resources to protect life and property, life including the life of protesters.
So during your protest, are you submitting a petition to a group of people or someone in particular, or you are just protesting?
Those details are being discussed by the leadership of organizing it, and we will make sure to inform the media as we edge closer to the day.
What do you make of Cheddar's call that we shouldn't be involved in violent protest?
I think it's lost on him. He's lost touch with the people. He lives in a bubble, and these comments reflect the kind of bubble that he lives in and how disconnected he is from the daily realities of the people. It's on his own head. Who wants to be involved in violence?
Well,
who is talking about violence here? Protest is a constitutional right of Ghanaians. So when we decide that we want to exercise our constitutional rights, it is very, very uninformed for people like him to be making the kind of commentary that he's making.
Well, do you agree that those who went on the protest engaged in a violent protest but not a peaceful one?
They were engaged in a peaceful protest until the police started misbehaving towards them. And I think that is what people must note, that narratives are important. And it's very important, particularly for the media, that the media does not perpetuate the propaganda of the government, but make themselves a channel for disseminating truth. The protesters were there, and they were protesting. They had their water and food in a truck. The police sought to tow the truck away. And of course, they will not sit down and watch. They will not sit down and watch. So things must be put in its proper perspective. The police is supposed to protect life and property. That life includes the life of the protesters. Which public property was destroyed on that day? Nobody attacked any public property. Then I hear, mundane things like they were burning posters of political parties. When did the posters of NPP, Movement for Change, NDC, become public property? When? So the attempt by the government through propaganda to confuse the issues is neither here nor there.
But Courage, not to cut you short, but we saw videos where they were burning some party flags, and even the convener took keys from the police vehicle and attempted to run away with it and threw it away eventually.
It is called a protest for one reason: to register displeasure. The displeasure of the protesters is against the political duopoly, the political class, for failing to address our basic problems, such as protecting the environment, which is entrusted into them. So burning the flag is one way of making a statement that this party has failed us. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, on the issue of the car keys, if the police decide to abuse protesters by throwing away their food and water, the protesters have every right to immobilize the police vehicle in protection of their food and water. You take their food and water away, what are they protesting on? How do they refresh the protesters? So all of these must be put in right perspective. On day one, when the police did not threaten their water and food, nobody took the keys to the police trucks. The trucks are all there. Nobody touched anything. So it's very, very important, particularly for the media, that we put the narratives in its right perspective.
Well, Courage, with the flags that were burned on that day, let's assume if there were flags for the Movement for Change, would you all still be in this position?
The Movement for Change is campaigning on the note of transformation, to transform the Ghanaian economy and to create jobs, particularly for young people. If the Movement for Change is giving power and we fail to do that, young Ghanaians have every right to protest, to burn our flag, burn our posters, to register their displeasure as to how we have failed to deliver on our promise. And there'll be nothing wrong with it.
All right, thank you very much, Courage Nobi. And he is from the Movement for Change, as a group of Ghanaians have hinted on hitting the streets from 1st to 5th of October, and is convened by the Yellow Army, Free the Citizens Group, and Stamp School Group. Still on the protest, one of the lawyers for the 54 arrested Democracy Hub protesters, Noah Adamte, has criticized the Attorney General and the Ghana Police Service for shifting blame onto Defense Counsel over the misinformation regarding the alleged pregnancy of one of the protesters, Vera Louise. Responding to a police statement denying Vera's pregnancy status, Adamte argued that the state's posture is quite surprising and accused authorities of denying legal counsel sufficient access to their clients. Speaking on ABC in the morning, he emphasized that lawyers had less than 3 minutes to speak to their clients and no opportunity to inquire about such information.
That's the first day they appeared in court. And on the first day they appeared in court, we had less than 3 minutes. The AG and the police knows that lawyers for the protesters only had the chance to know their condition on the day, that's the first day they appeared in court. And on the first day they appeared in court, we had less than 3 minutes to speak to them before they were arraigned and before the court remanded them to custody. It was only after the court that we were informed that she was pregnant, and that information had been communicated to the police. I mean, without admitting that she did not even communicate it to the police. When it came out that she was pregnant, the police, who had kept her for about 48 hours before she being arraigned, should have immediately informed her relations about that condition and allowed them access to her before they would even conduct whatever.
Meanwhile, Noah Adamte, a lawyer for the protesters, assessed that if Vera Louise is confirmed pregnant through a medical test run by them, they will file charges for human rights abuse, specifically citing violations of her right to personal liberty and dignity. This, he says, is because Vera had previously informed the police about her pregnancy, yet they and the Attorney General allegedly misled the public about her condition. This comes at the back of the release made by the police that they took the initiative and sent Gloria Vera Louise, an arrested protester during the Democracy Hub demonstration, to the police hospital and an independent health facility for a thorough medical examination, with both medical results coming out negative, suggesting that Gloria Vera Louise is not pregnant as claimed.
Bring against the states will be human rights abuses. Okay, and here it will basically be on her right to personal liberty and then her right to dignity. These are the charges we bring against the states, particularly because she informed the police of her pregnancy, and also because the police and the Attorney General have lied about her condition. So we would definitely bring human rights action against the states and the police, that is the IGP. If she's pregnant, the charge.
Still on the protest, Ghana's Minister for Information, Fatimatu Abubakar, has criticized CNN international correspondent Larry Madowo regarding his report on the recent anti-illegal mining demonstrations in Accra, which has led to the arrest and detention over 50 protesters. The protest, organized by the Democracy Hub, occurred between September 21 and 23. Mr. Madowo shared his observations on X, stating that Ghanaian authorities were detaining peaceful protesters opposing illegal mining activities. I'll be watching Ghana's president speak in New York this morning as police in Accra continue to detain peaceful protesters against illegal mining. People are rallying under the Free the Citizens hashtag after Ghanaian police violently broke up 3 days of Stop Galamsey Now protest. Larry Madowo wrote on his X handle, however, Minister Abubakar took issue with portrayal of the events in a post on her X account on September 26, 2024. She expressed her disappointment, arguing that Madowo's report lacked balance and failed to present a comprehensive view of the situation. To some election matters, the running mate of Movement for Change, lawyer Kwame Owusu-Danso, says his party will make a shocking difference come December 2024. Mr. Kwame Danso, who was addressing a gathering at Nkwanta North in the Oti region, decried the poor developmental projects in the area, promising the electorate that his movement, when given the nod, will ensure the people of Nkwanta North have a share of the national cake, accusing the NDC for not returning the favor done them by the voters all these years, as the Oti region is their stronghold.
Say the Ura hope you kind. You better must be brave. I'm saying Ura land could not have a chair appointed. Say in the running list. Because say me say because there is a Julia Madiatu campaign so you there. Now me your campaign. Me come I just have my starting from Oti. Fi say Oti enemy. Depend you know ya na go for opportunity and not on map to omuto. Omo mochi e mehwe de yekoso me ba fie pa aka me ba fie pa na me ba no mahu se ye kwan ni nyinara you do baby po de na say swimming pool ya kra ka me yi ho na mato kwan ni nyinara nye e na me bisa mo say na say ha de ka baby ya to ba mara ndis ana me boa na fe e ba ne say Alambeba, Alambeba,
Still on elections, the Electoral Commission has rejected the call by the National Democratic Congress (NDC) to conduct a forensic audit of the voters' register. The Commission said this while responding to the petition submitted by the main opposition party. In its response to the NDC's petition, the EC said the Commission takes this opportunity to assure the NDC and the general public that it has largely resolved all the discrepancies identified in the PVR. The Commission achieved this in 2020 and will do it again in 2024. Speaking to Dr. Rashid Tanko Computer, the Deputy Director of Elections and IT for the NDC on ABC in the morning, he highlighted that the party is waiting on the outcome of a meeting held by the Functional Executive Committee of the NDC to take a decision on the forensic audit and re-exhibition of the voters' register.
Very well. Some of the issues border on policy, and then we are waiting on FEC, the Functional Executive Committee of the party. That is the highest decision body after NEC, and then to take a decision on this. I mean, the issue of forensic audit, the re-exhibition of this was a decision from Functional Executive Committee, and then so we're waiting on a meeting of the Functional Executive Committee to take a decision on this. Their response, we will give them appropriate reply. We've taken note of what they have put in there, the 9-page. We've taken note of it. Very well. Some of the issues border on policy, and then we are waiting on FEC, the Functional Executive Committee of the party. That is the highest decision body after NEC, and then to take a decision on this. I mean, the issue.
He further stated that the EC's way of digitizing the checking of the voters' details online by using the code won't help the situation because those in the rural areas are not friendly with internet connectivity and usage, but rather conversant with the manual way of checking their names in the voters' register.
Exhibiting the register online. Like Council stated, how many people in my village can check their data online? How many people? You know the illiteracy rate in Ghana. That is why the figures of our constitution design our electoral system on manual basis. They refuse electronic voting because of our illiteracy rate, and designed our electoral system based on manual process. We do everything manual. Apart from registering, go and register using the BVR. To register you and put the data together, and some crooked people are sitting in the electoral commission manipulating the data. When we terminate the issue of register, no, we don't have business with any IT again, because all the other processes are manual. We go and vote manual, we count manually, and we write the results on paper, known as pink sheet, the statement of we write it manually. We enter the figures onto the pink sheet manually, and we announce the results on the paper again manually. So that's why when we do an exhibition, we do manual exhibition. We print the pictures, everything, and you come and look at it and be sure that meaning that's my picture, I'm the one. This is my name. The way you spell that is not how my name is spelled. Then you correct. These are what we do on the exhibition. But when you now cross over to a stage where somebody criminally minded sat in the office of the Electoral Commission and started displacing voters, moving them from one polling station to another in different constituencies, voter displacement, so that on election day, such people cannot vote, although your name is.
Polling agency Global Info Analytics have hinted at the possibility of a runoff in the 2024 presidential elections, following what they described as a double-digit polling of independent candidates Alan Kwejo Tremantin and Nana Kwame Bediako, popularly known as Cheddar. This deviated from the various polling of the agency that ruled out any possibility of a runoff in the December 7th elections. In previous polls, Global Info Analytics predicted an outright victory for the NDC's John Mahama in the upcoming elections, but in a post on social media, GIA has hinted at a possible upset in the 2024 elections. Well, the agency says it will in the coming days drop the details of the poll, but we are joined by a senior analyst at Global Info Analytics, Salam Insia, to provide us with more details on this. Thank you for joining us here on ABC News.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
So what have you noticed differently that is making you believe a runoff is a possibility as it stands?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure we said a runoff. We are just teasing now. We are just speculating. I don't know whether you are referring to the Facebook post on our Global Info Analytics page, right?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, it's like we are just asking the question. Okay, we are not suggesting that it's a runoff. It's more like a tease, right? Just to um, increase people's enthusiasm for the poll, more or less. But generally, in the October poll, what we've seen is that NKB and Alan are doing well. Especially NKB is doing much better than Alan. But the point about a runoff, I don't think, because the issue is, for a runoff to be possible, they should be taken sufficiently from both of the two leading candidates, that's GM and Vice President. And we are not really seeing that. The two are taking more from Vice President and John Mahama. And basically, still, John, former President GM is above 50. But as to the figure and all that, I will reserve it until we release the main poll.
All right, Salamba, what are the NPP and NDC now scoring per your latest monitoring?
No, as I said, I mean, we are yet to release the poll, so it should not be fair for me to go ahead of the team to mention. But the broad outline is that Cheddar is doing much better. In some regions, it's even the double digits. Alan is doing quite well, but Cheddar is doing better than him. Vice President dropped in some regions, like about a couple of regions. Former President John Mahama also dropped in a couple of regions, but generally the drop for him has not been significant to bring him under 50%. So that's basically it. As I said, as you also mentioned earlier, we are analyzing the report. So in a couple of days, you will get to the details, and maybe we can talk more.
All right, Salam. But with just 3 months the elections, can things change further for any of the parties?
Well, as they say, a day in politics is like eternity, right? But the trend has been pretty consistent. You know, since January 2022 today, we've done like about 10 polls quarterly. We've done about a couple of telephone polls to correlate and all that. There's also other internal polling. That's that one, of course. They are private polling, so we can't release it. The trend is pretty consistent that former President GM is above 50 almost all the time. Vice President is hovering almost close to 40. Alan and the others are in the single digits. So because the two are not if the two are actually in the double digits consistently and pulling from both, it would have drawn it into a possible runoff. But for now, we don't see. And also in our poll, we see that about 80% or so say their minds are made up, and a chunk of the 20% are sort of made up. So I don't see that there will be much room for a very dramatic and significant change. But it's politics and it's campaign, and maybe there are strategies to find ways of turning things. But for us as Global Info Analytics, we don't see much shift, and we don't expect to see much shift.
All right, thank you very much, Salam Insia, and he is from the Global Info Analytics. Moving on, private legal practitioner Martin Pebu has stated clearly that all errors created by the EC have made a lack of credibility on the part of the Electoral Commission. This happened at the back of the EC admitting that there were 38 illegal transfers from Tamale to Pusiga Also, the EC admitted that 243,000 on the transferred list were added to the 2020 list. Speaking on ABC in the morning, Ms. Akpebu further stressed that these are making the EC untrustworthy, especially not being able to calculate basic arithmetic.
Look at the total picture first, then before we go into the specifics. So the total picture is one in which the EC admitted that there were 38 illegal transfers from Tamale to Pusiga. 2, the EC admitted that 243,000, right, on the transferred list were added from the 2020 register. So the EC admitted this. Then there's a third admission, right? So the total picture is that once these errors happened, and also you add that to the election 2020, where the EC got basic arithmetic wrong, okay? They had to change the results like 6 times, all on the promptings of the NDC, all right? And then also you add the other side of Peter Apiahene being on the EC when Kudeo itself has written that President Kufuor should revoke the appointment. And then we'll go on and on and on. And then this guy, Dr. Ofori AJ, and then Kwachi Amfu Kwachi's son. Amfu Kwachi, that's a man who was convicted of narcotics and was made aide to President Kufuor. His son being hired as a Yao Kwachi, right? As ET consultant, etc. So all of this have created a picture of lack of credibility on the part of the EC. These things can't go away because you have Peter Apiahene, you see his profile representing the MPP. He cannot run away. He was the communications team. He was part of the communications team of the.
Meanwhile, Ms. Akpebu mentioned that the online exhibition is a great shift, but is not far enough. The Electoral Commission should do more than the needful by adding the independent candidates.
Well, that's a shift, at least. People, number one, it represents a shift of some sort because earlier on the Electoral Commission has said it will not be exhibited again. So to say they will exhibit it is a shift, but they've not shifted far enough. Look, they should just do the needful exhibition and also add the independent audit. It won't kill anybody. It rather shows strength. When you make a mistake, people point it out where you are said. It's a mark of strength, resilience, right? It's not, we all make mistakes. And that's how come, as an EC, they need stakeholders to be able to scrutinize and make suggestions, right? So it's good. I would say the EC is done the right thing by shifting a bit, but I would also say the shift is not sufficient. They should do a total shift, which is to also admit or accept the independent audit. Then it will be done, and then we'll all be home and dry, right? And the elections will be very credible.
Peter Nochu, the ranking member of the Education Committee and a member of Parliament of Akachi North constituency in the Volta region, has expressed the committee's profound loss of moral courage to engage with the unions. Speaking with ABC News, he stated that the unions have completely lost trust in the committee, attributing this breach to the government's consistent failure to uphold agreements made with them.
As a committee, we have lost the moral courage to engage these unions any longer. You remember the CITAC strike. You remember that of the Midday. We had to campaign, spoke with these lecturers of the various universities. That is a University Federation of Ghana, UTAG, and then CITAC, and then that of the local university. They listen to us. They listen to other people, and they return to the lecture hall, only for government to fail to honor their obligations. So when we call teacher unions or various unions again now, they tell us, you have done this, the people listening to you, government has they are part of the agreement. What is the guarantee that if we listen to you now and we go back, government will honor the agreement? So we are having a very tough time now to go and talk to anybody or any union that, oh, listen to us, go back, government will do ABC. We are tired of government foot dragging as far as the welfare or the conditions of service of these union members are concerned.
Meanwhile, the ranking member of the Education Committee, Peter Nochu, is urging the government to release funds to the Ministry of Education or tertiary institutions, emphasizing that this is the final step needed for tertiary unions to resume classes. He warned that if all institutions are shut down, the consequences for the country would be severe.
These things will continue. If money is released to pay the arrears of allowance, to restore whatever allowances there are for the union, I think they will go back to work immediately. So for me, there's no solution now than the release of funds by government to the Ministry of Education or to the tertiary institutions that are affected, so that they can pay their allowances due to their staff, and then work will continue. I am told some other unions are getting ready to join the other unions that are on strike already. And it's going to paralyze tertiary education in the country in the coming days, maybe from next week. And if all the tertiary institutions are closed down, what are we going to do? What are we achieving? So for me, it is the job of the ministers for education, finance, and employment to come together and solve this problem without delay. These things will...
Let's do some business now. The Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana has cut the rate at which it lends to commercial banks to 27% from 29%. It dropped the rate by 200 basis points to 27%. Speaking at a news conference following the completion of the MPC meeting, the governor, Dr. Ernest Addison, noted that the action was influenced by a favorable economic outlook. This follows the Bank of Ghana's initially maintaining the policy rate in the previous two sittings of the Monetary Policy Committee. The Governor, Ernest Addison, stressed that the reduction is to further relieve the business community and put the economy on a growth trajectory.
Headline inflation since the first quarter has declined for the fifth consecutive month by 5.4 percentage points. Core inflation has also declined sharply over the same comparative period by 6.9 percentage points. These trends suggest that the disinflation process is on course. The latest forecast showed that the inflation will continue to ease towards the range target of 13 to 17% for the year and steadily track back towards the medium-term target of 6 to 10% by the end of 2025, bearing unanticipated shocks. At the current juncture, the committee judged the risk to inflation outlook as fairly balanced. Given these considerations, the committee decided to lower the monetary policy rate by 200 basis points to 27%. Thank you.
Away from business, let's do some sports. Former former Ghana international Samuel Inkum has requested an extension until October 31 to repay $8,000 he allegedly defrauded from two complainants. Inkum, who helped Ghana win the 2009 Under-20 World Cup and played in the 2010 FIFA World Cup, appeared in court for the second time, facing charges of defrauding by false pretenses. In court, Inkum explained that he is selling his properties to raise the needed funds. The presiding judge, Ms. Mavis Bejura, granted his request. According to the prosecution, Inkum took $4,000 each from Doris Dankwa and her fiancé Seth Osei Adai, promising to secure visas for their relocation from Dubai to the USA, but failed to deliver. Inkum is now working to resolve the case ahead of the next court date. Accra Lions Football Club has announced an exciting new initiative offering free entry to women and children under 15 for all home matches in the Ghana Premier League. This fan-friendly policy is set to start this Saturday, September 28, 2024, during their match against Insotroman FC at the University of Ghana Stadium in Legon. The club hopes the initiative will inspire greater community involvement, especially from families, while strengthening support for local football. Women and children in the specified age group can attend without paying for tickets, while other fans will pay the standard prices. Despite a difficult start to the season with 2 losses and a draw, Accra Lions remain optimistic about improving their performance and building a larger fan base to back them through the campaign. Tanzanian football club Young Africans SC, also known as Yanga SC, has been fined $3,000 and ordered by FIFA to pay Ghanaian forward Augustine Okra $24,400 in unpaid wages. This follows a payment dispute during Okra's tenure at the club. FIFA's dispute resolution chamber has given Yanga 45 days to settle the debt or risk facing further sanctions, including a ban on registering new players for up to 3 transfer windows. Okra, who now plays for Bechem United in the Ghana Premier League, won the case as part of FIFA's commitment to enforcing fair compensations for athletes globally. Let's take some international news. Sudan's army launched its largest operation yet to regain control of the capital Khartoum from the Rapid Support Forces on Thursday. Artillery and airstrikes hit key areas of the city as the army attempted to cross bridges connecting Khartoum, Omdurman and Bari. This military push comes just ahead of an address by Army Commander General Abdel Fattah at the UN General Assembly, where he stressed that peace depends on the RSF disarming. Meanwhile, RSF forces claim to have repelled the army's advances on 2 bridges in Khartoum. As the conflict rages, fears are growing over violence in Darfur, where the RSF has intensified its offensive, particularly in Al-Fashar, raising concerns of ethnically targeted abuses. The ongoing war, which began 17 months ago, has displaced over 10 million people with dire humanitarian consequences across the country. Hurricane Helen, a Category 4 storm, made landfall in northwestern Florida on September 27, 2024, bringing devastating flooding and storm surge across the southeast. The storm dumped between 6 to 12 inches of rain, with some areas seeing as much as 20 inches, triggering widespread flooding in Georgia, the Carolinas, and Florida. The National Weather Service issued flash flood warnings for several states, describing the storm surge in Apalachee Bay as unsurvivable. In Florida, at least 3 lives were lost, including 1 person killed by a fallen sign near Tampa. Rescue efforts are ongoing in southwest Florida, where dangerous floodwaters have left over 1 million people without power. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration has warned that the deadly rainfall will continue to pose a significant threat as Helen moves north. Authorities continue to assess the full scope of the distraction as emergency responders work to aid affected communities. Away from the international news, let's go back to business as the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana has cut the rate at which it lends to commercial banks to 27% from 29%. Well, we have joining us economist at the University of Ghana Business School, Professor Patrick Isumin, to have a conversation on this. Good afternoon and thank you for joining us here on ABC News.
Good afternoon to viewers.
Does this cut come to you as a surprise as you initially predicted that the Bank of Ghana will maintain the rate at 29%?
Yeah, very much so. I'm quite surprised, not just that I decided to cut, but also by that magnitude. I think what we discussed in the morning featured prominently in the statement. I think the economy is doing much better than expected. And even though the inflation rate is coming down, I think it's still way higher than our target. So I think 200 basis points increase is quite high. I mean, at least it looks very high to me. I think, but if you look at the fact that other central banks in advanced countries are all cutting rates, perhaps the BOG felt that it was time for Ghana to do something because our interest rate is high anyway. But I'm still quite surprised at the magnitude of the reduction.
But is the reduction enough to cushion businesses and lenders especially?
Well, I think it's a signal that it sends. Obviously, it will translate into a reduction in the Ghana reference rate, and that should bring down interest rates and bring some release to businesses. But I think you have to look at the interest pricing in totality. It's not just the Ghana reference rate and the monetary policy rate that plays a role. I think the non-performing loans and the fact that they are getting higher and higher means that even if the central bank reduces their policy rate, the banks may not reduce their interest rate dramatically or as much as expected. So generally, for the business community, this should come as good news because they have been complaining about the rate. But you have to understand that the rate that they face is not just determined by the monetary policy rates, but the fact that non-performing loans are also high. It will still play a big role.
But what will be the rippling effect of this cut in the policy rate?
So ordinarily, this should mean that lending rates should come down for businesses, and that should help boost their investment. I mean, businesses should be able to borrow more to expand their production. Ordinarily, that should translate into more, higher growth of GDP, and then also an increase in employment, which will help reduce unemployment. But at least that's what the theory says. Whether all of this will happen depends on many things. I think, like I said, one of them is if banks feel that customers are not repaying their loans quickly or they are defaulting, they are unlikely to reduce their interest rate dramatically. Because the banks start with the Ghana reference rates and then they will add their premium. They will add the risk premium. So if many customers are defaulting on their loans, then the risk premium will be high. That is because of the high NPL, and the interest rate may not come down dramatically. But you expect that the rates will be lower, and then it should help cushion businesses and the cost of production.
All right, thank you very much, Patrick Esumen. He is an economist at the University of Ghana Business School. Away from that, let's do some entertainment. Canadian musician K'naan, widely known for his 2010 FIFA World Cup anthem, Waving Flag, has been charged with 1 count of sexual assault stemming from an alleged incident that occurred in July 2010. The charges were filed in a Quebec City courthouse on September 26, 2024. Court documents reveal that the incident allegedly took place between July 16 and 17, 2010, during K'naan's participation in the festival de Quebec. The complaint was first made in May 2022, and after an investigation, the case was transferred to Quebec City. The victim, who was 29 at the time, has remained anonymous. K'naan, whose real name is K'naan Abdi Wasami, was 33 at the time of the alleged assault. The artist was not present in court when the charges were filed. His legal team has requested the trial be conducted in English, with the case scheduled for review in April 2025. For those who do not remember who K'naan is, let's watch this to refresh our memories.
Give me fire, give me reason, take me higher. See the champions, take the field now. Unify us, make us feel proud. In the streets our heads are lifting as we lose our inhibition. Celebration, it surrounds us. Every nation, all around us. Sing forever young.
Well, that's how we wrap up the bulletin for this afternoon. Let's take a recap of our top stories. Construction work of the National Cathedral is set to resume soon. The board chair has been speaking to it. There seems to be some uneasiness in the camp of the National Democratic Congress following EC's rejection to conduct forensic audits. Also, a poll suggests that Cheddar and Allen are likely to send the 2024 elections to a runoff. A group of Ghanaians to hit the streets of Accra on the 1st to 5th of October 2024 to demand the release of detained demonstrators of the Democracy Hub protest. In business, the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana has adjusted the policy rate for commercial banks from 29% to 27%. On the international front, Sudan's army launched its largest operation yet to regain control of the capital, Khartoum, from the Rapid Support Forces on Thursday. Thank you for staying with us here on ABC News Ghana. I am Jennifer Somwa. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at ABC News Ghana. Good afternoon.
the field now. Unify us, make us feel proud. In the streets our heads are lifting as we lose our inhibition. Celebration, it surrounds us. Every nation, all around us. Sing forever young, singing songs underneath the sun. Let's rejoice in the beautiful game.